Hey guys, DibtheAwesome here to give you another Monster Legends Guide, where we talk about monsters' moves, rune sets, partners, all that jazz. Today we are talking about Learnean. Now, a few fun facts about Learnean. It was actually supposed to come out a long time ago, but he never did. He was supposed to come out after the time of Singularius, who, ironically enough, is in the 72-hour event challenge, which is a really funny story. But he didn't. He was, he was supposed to come after Singularius, but several other monsters, like all these monsters that are here, up to, Mystery Scratch, all these magic monsters all the way up to here, the Fairy Tale Island event. Yeah, it was never out until after the Fairy Tale Island event. Just a fun fact about it. And he was supposed to be a premium monster, like a premier monster, I believe, where you could just buy 300 gems. That was changed to whoever got first place in the team race event. Now let's talk about the power, life, and speed. The power is 3,201. This is a pretty low power. It is. In terms of DOT monsters, this isn't too much because you're more so focusing on your dot damage, more so than you are in, your base damage. But if you wanted to increase the rate of which they die, you could add a strength rune into that. You could add one strength rune just to increase the amount of damage you're doing while you're passively killing them, because he has spammable moves. Beyond his AoE, everything has spammability. Everything has a 0-turn cooldown, and just a stamina cost of 28 or 31 stamina cost, depending on what moves you've put on it. This is really great because, in all honesty, if a DOT character has spammable moves, it's very favorable. Because you're always moving, and while you're moving, your DOT is also doing work and killing the enemy. And he has the best, in all honesty, AoE dot damage move in the game currently. He really does, and you use him specifically for that move alone. His life is 27,143. Not the bulkiest dot damage character in the game, or damage over time. If you don't know what a damage over time character is, it focuses on applying like status effects that do damage every turn and stuff like that. So you kind of want to build around a stally team. You want them to die from the damage over time rather than the just burst damage. You can do burst. I will say you can run burst damage with your dot damage. That's totally fine. You will need an attacker for that. This guy kind of runs as a kind of like an extra guy format. He's not really a mainstream denier nor attacker. So run him like that. Run him as if he were the extra guy on your team. The runes vary. It depends on your playstyle. It totally depends on where you're at in the game. Are you in the community competitive section? Are you in that area? Or are you in like PvP arena where everybody's running full speed, or like a strength and a 2 speed, or like two strengths and a speed? That kind of build format for Team Wars. There are 2 areas of competitive play. Depending on where you are, you need to adjust to that setting. I'll explain which and what category do you need to adjust your runes to when we get to that point. But the latter was actually really easy to explain. But you can be really creative in the community competitive scene, which is pretty much beginner to middle class players in teams and stuff like that. Beginner teams and middle class teams. You can be creative with the build in this area. Scene depending where your team is currently at. Are you fighting people with like level 10 runes or level 5 runes? that's totally variation of where you're at in the game, and at some point you do need to adjust to that meta depending on where you're at. So yeah, life is not the tankiest life for a DOT damage healer. I advise some AoE shielding, or like AoE life regen, if you're not too into that life rune, especially if you're doing the ladder competitive scene, especially if you're doing that. Now, I haven't explained these competitive scenes yet. I will in a future video. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. Speed, 3,454. This is a respectable speed. The only form of deny this guy actually has, though, is a single target stun. That's the only thing he can do in terms of denying. The rest is up to the stamina leak, which takes time to work. He also has a 50% stamina drain, which actually contributes to the stamina leak, which combos really nice. In a 1v1 fight, if you're running 2 speeds and a strength through, and it's something that's not running, speed, you pretty much won the fight at that point. Because what you can do is, you can stun them and then stamina drain them just repeatedly. You can just spam stamina drain because it's on a 0-turn cooldown, I think. It's a magic monster, so it is weak to nature. So threats in this category actually include pretty much all natural, tanky nature monsters. So we're talking about Judgment, we're talking about Plymouth. Plymouth actually counters Learnean pretty hard due to the single target nature move that also gives AoE life regen. That's huge. This guy does not like monsters that give AoE life regen or clear debuffs. It's just its least favorite thing in the world to deal with. So just keep that in mind. It has the trait Harden. Okay, so this is both a blessing and a curse. One, it could have a chance not to get burned. It could have a chance not to get poisoned, not to get frozen, not to get anything. It has a 20% chance not to get hit by anything. The downside to this is it can get possessed. And this is huge because basically you can't put this on a defensive team. You just can't, because you're going to get AoE possessed, and it's not the best situation for you. It's going to be a really bad one, especially if he does do the he does the move that you mainly use this for. So that's huge. It's really, really huge. Full complete powers. Deals very heavy special damage to all enemies. Applies 3 random negative effects. This requires no cooldown nor stamina. It's your ultimate, and it does 60 damage. Now this guy was supposed to have. Now basically this guy has the first one. There's several variations of full complete power from several other monsters that came out before it. Or this guy was supposed to come out first, but he didn't, and so other ones came out with this kind of move. I think that the one that kind of got this thing first, it was either Demise or Incognita. I think it was one of the two. I honestly can't remember, but one of those two monsters that came out first. No, it was totally Incognita. Yeah, so okay, Incognita totally got it first. In terms of what came out, she came out before Learnean, so that's how that works. But he has it, and this is actually a really strong, debuff ability. It goes really well, especially if he's 115. If you look at him at 115, his power does become respectable at 3,637. Keep in mind, especially if the other monsters are also ranked up too, the damage can. I don't know if the damage in terms of damage up, but I don't know if it really adjusts to that much. But if they're the same level, does that calculate to the same situation they were at level 100? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a respectable power. So if you do get this move when you're 115, you do a lot of damage. You do respectable damage because they're all glassy. At least they're in that PV. This is for PvP arena format. Now, when I say PvP arena format, it's just a style of team war. They're pretty much playing you've ever seen in PvP level, when you're at a level 100, you see all these players with 130 monsters or 100 monsters running 10x speed or 1 speed. 10 strength through and then 2x speeds. Yeah, it's kind of that format of play. Hydra Rush deals moderate special damage, 50% chance to stunning. He has a better version of this. It's not really worth running too much because he does have 100% stun, so this isn't worth running. Mixed powers. This is an option if you want to have fun. This move, he does have a better version of this. This is a weak version of his main move. Mixed powers deals low special damage to all enemies, 50% chance of poisoning all targets, 50% of burning all targets, applies stamina leak for sure to all targets, requires cooldown. At least I think it's for sure applies it, I think. Nope, yep, it's 100%. So this is a for sure guarantees stamina leak. You will stamina leak everybody if you use this move, but you have a chance, you have a small chance, 50% half the chance to land burning or poison. This comes up decently if let's say they have a Lux or an Incognita, anything that pretty much clears debuffs. You can use this move. You have the option to. It's not the most healthiest. I'm not saying it's the most healthiest move, but you may run it for fun. If you just want to apply, if you just want to try and apply that again, here's your move to do so. This is pretty costly, and I will say if you run it with the for sure one, it's fairly costly in stamina. It really is. So you have the option to run it. I'm giving you the option. You can play it for fun. Really, this is you would use this for the community competitive scene in Team Wars. So anything that's not running really high end 10 strength runes, 10 level speed runes, like for every single player that is. You use this for situations where there's maybe several players running 7s, maybe 8s or 9s, maybe a single 10 one, but everyone else is running the normal rune set. You can run it at that point, but not in the other beat 'em up scene. You can't run into that one. Not a good idea. Magic Clash. Basically, this is his only magic damaging move. You basically put this on just for the sole purpose of killing Timeron. And even at that, you might not even put the damage room. It totally depends on where you're at in the game. This would probably work out in the scene of the event, where you just use it on Timeron because it's on 0 turn cooldown. This doesn't do much damage. I will say this does realistically no damage if you don't even put a single strength rune on it, so you don't have to run it. It's a good thing to note that Timeron can't be really burned or poisoned. I don't think you can be stamina leaked either. So just having this move on for that occasion of dealing with a Timeron, that could help. It could be a good situation maybe. But in all honesty, it's not the best move to run. I'm just saying it's an option you may run if you want to counter metal monsters. That's just about it. The damage is fairly low too, so it might not even be worth running. It's just spammable. It's a spammable magic move, Use it when AoE cooldown's activated. Triple Cha. Deals moderate special damage, may stun target, requires cooldown. You should totally put this on all the average. If you're just like the community competitive scene, if you're in the new to middle class of Team War player, you should totally put this move on it. Because you can't run. The damage set is not an option for you if you do not rank it up a bit. You can't go a damage route if you don't have them at 115. But basically, this can go on the soul stally set, like a soul damage over time. You're not looking for damage; you're more so looking to buy time. This costs less stamina. It's also these two are. I think this one's spammable too. Yeah, you see the difference between triple cha and triple chomp. The damage difference is significantly there, but it costs I think 3. Is that 3 more stamina? Yeah, 3 more stamina. So it costs 3 more stamina. And it's spammable. It's still spammable. You do more damage. This is good. I will say if you don't care about, I will honestly say if you don't care about no stamina cost, you should totally go for this move because it's a really bursty move. Blaze Head power deals heavy special damage, may burn target, requires no cooldown, 31 stamina. Basically, you put honestly these two moves, Blaze Head and Poison Head, they basically apply the AoE effect. Whatever AoE effect you missed, you may use one of these moves to apply it. You may run. You have the option to run either of these moves. You totally do. It's totally up to you. Personally, I'd pick one. In most cases, it would it depends. In all honesty, this one depends on how you want to play Learnean. Do you plan on taking any damage with Learnean? Do you plan on having a really tanky set? If you're planning on having a really tanky set, I highly advise picking up Poison Head. It's because of that damage reduction. That's the only reason. If you want to just go more so for a bursty damage over time set, you just want to just end the game. You want them to snap it quick, just burn alive, wait for turn stall, you should totally go for Blaze Head at that point. You totally pick. It's totally your advocate. I will say this Poison Head would work a lot better with a life route. If you would do a life and 2 speed, but that's totally up to you. This is for that suggestions for community competitive scene. That option. But yeah, it depends. It's totally. It's up to you. Which one do you want? That is your choice to distinguish. Triple Chomp deals heavy special damage, may stun target, requires no cooldown, 31 stamina, 60 damage. I just I explained this during Triple Cha. But again, you only ever use this move if you want to do a a bigger chunk of damage. Rather than 45 damage, you do 60 damage at the cost of 3 more stamina. And that might not make too much of a difference. So you may run it. If you just want to do bigger bursts of damage. With this DOT character, which you have the option to. I mean, DOT characters can go in a mix, kind of like they can do, the DOT damage plus a little extra moderate damage, to help with that DOT. You can totally do that. Confluent power. This is the main reason why you even use this thing. It's a very heavy stamina costing move of 43 stamina, 20 damage power, not the highest damaging AoE, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Keep in mind, it's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's pretty heavy. So just keep in mind, it's not too heavy, but it's the average cooldown. Yeah, it's the average cooldown. Deals low special damage to all enemies, may poison all targets, may burn all targets, apply stamina leak to all targets, requires cooldown. Basically, if you apply this like straight up at the beginning of the game, there is a build path you will more than likely you can use 3 speed to apply this straight away, right away. I can see a lot of people in the PvP arena style format of the competitive scene in Team Wars. This is the late game, this is the high rank people, this is the big boy leagues of just damage and speed. The only two that matter in this category. It's the only rule to be played. This is you'd run full speed and you'd apply this straight up right away. To get your DOT up, it's supposed to be a quick game, so you're on full speed when you do that set. Now you can play around. I will say this move can be very played around with. It totally depends on what Learnean you build. It totally depends. In terms of rune build, do you want to do a 2 damage and a speed set, where you apply this first, and then the next turn you do a huge amount of single target damage to burst down a single target? Because after 2 turns of this, you do 50% of their health. You take a huge chunk away after just 2 turns, and you can reapply the effect. You can reapply the buffs too. So that's just naturally like 2 turns is literally 50%. And if you do like all 3, if it's a third turn, you do, it was like 75% of their health. And then and then you do another 10 the last turn, the last turn of this, which is about 85%. So you do quite a few chunks of damage in quite a bit of small time. Now that's not including like the AoE damage from Denier. This plays with other stuff. You can totally have different ideas when using Learnean in terms of messing around with the DOT. You can have an attacker do more damage so they burn quicker. It's really easy to take advantage of this. So as long as they're not immune to burning or poison, and that's actually huge. I will say most of this guy's damage does come from this, and if you're fighting something that's immune to burning or poison, you do a lot less damage. It hurts his damage if you cannot burn him, and if you can't poison them. That's huge. It's really, really huge. So keep that in mind when using Learnean. Waterhead Power deals heavy special damage, removes 50% of stamina from target, requires cooldown. This is a must move to have just because it goes well in conjunction with Confluent Power. You can spam this and they're pretty much drained. They really are drained at this point. It's exceptionally well in 1v1 fights. If you do get stuck, Learnean literally gets stuck in a situation where he has to fight a person, and he's building he has speed, and maybe a life-sustaining rune, and he has to deal with the damage dealer. All Learnean would ever have to do is stamina. He's already set up stamina leak already. It's a wonder why he hasn't died from the burning yet. But basically, all you ever have to do is literally just stamina drain them. And the occasional stunning, because what you can do is you stun the first time. All right, you can stun the first time, or you can you do waterhead. You do the stun first, and then you apply the waterhead. Depending on what the enemy attacker is or the other monster that's left, if they're not really running speed rune, since you're running 2, maybe you might go another turn. Maybe might be a long time, but or maybe just every other turn. But you get the point. At some point, you can just stamina drain them to death. I will say this kind of method works a lot better if you are running a stamina rune. Now, I don't see a lot of people running the stamina rune. it is an option, and it would help in that sense of that case of what I've just said. So he can sponge a single target while they're also taking DOT. Now keep in mind that's also huge. if this guy is tanky, and like he can attack you, I mean he's really sponging all your stamina at this point. Yeah, like you cannot move at all. That's huge. I mean, like he can deny you the whole time and never has to worry about it, unless the AI actually ults you. You know, they actually get their ult, then that's huge. But most of the time, you can deny them of their moves. You can deny them of their turns at some point, thanks to the stamina leak and thanks to the stamina drain. You know, the 50% stamina drain. The stamina is pretty costly. Just keep that in mind. Now, overall thoughts on this monster. I think this monster can be really creative. I mean, you can build this if you're like in the new to middle class. I mean, like if you don't fight people that are too extreme, you can, I mean, like new ideas kind of form and stuff like that. I believe this guy is a very creative monster. You can be so creative with this monster. You can put him in a bunch of team comps like AoE shielding, from a tomb to, Gorin. You can just keeping stuff out there forever. And Oros, Oros are just things that just stay out longer. You can put this, there's a variety of DOT teams you could put this on, or like stall teams, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be extremely fun. He might actually go really well with Singularius. So you always have stamina lake up in that sense. You're always going to have stamina lake up. And the instant, if you wanted to apply the instant death or not apply the instant death, you could totally do that. But beyond that, yeah. I'm trying to think. I will say, like, yeah, this thing has a lot of creativity. But this thing, even though this thing has a lot of creativity and stuff like that, it has a lot of cons, and you can probably see it more so in the later game and stuff. Like you could probably see that in the later game, because they're gonna have things that possess. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of high level players with high level runes use, they use possessors just the same as the middle class to newbie players. If the new players that knew about the possession and stuff like that. This guy, that is the hugest weakness to this thing, and it's also the reason you can't put it on defense, because if you get possessed, you are not in a good spot. If you get like hit with the DOT, I mean, like if the your Learnean hits your team with the DOT, they've won the game at this point. You're in such a bad position, especially if they're using things like Mr. Scratch, White Pandolph, that works too. Especially those specific monsters, you are in such a terrible spot. But overall, I really like this monster. I think you can be really creative with the comps. Runes real quick for the community competitive scene. You can try a variety of things. My main recommendation is 2-speed and either your choice of a life or strength rune, depending on your style. The life rune will help in team comps where you have Atum, Gorin, Neemstress, General Ulsis, things that scale with like the more health you have, or just Ulsis. It doesn't matter with in terms of healing, but you can stay alive longer, so Ulsis can use his heal on you. Healing, shielding, Gretchen, a whole bunch of those monsters. You can be really creative in terms of making a tanky team comp with this monster. The DOT damage would be huge. I think if you want to go to more so a really bursty DOT comp, I highly recommend either Ralbog or Fenrir. Fenrir has a spammable AoE bleed and an AoE nightmare that can stack with the DOTs. Ralbog, because he is naturally tanky, he is immune to burning, so that's, you have a DOT that's immune, you have a damage dealer that's immune to the main tank killer in the game, and the other partner, I mean, you choose between Fenrir or Ralbog, depending on your situation, for that other slot, and the other, like the denier, could be something that also applies, maybe a DOT attack, maybe like Javelin. I'm trying to think of other AoE bleeder. I don't know. I can't think of any monsters at the moment that are deniers that cause AoE bleeding. I can't think of any at the moment. But you pair it up with things that go in synergy and can reapply the damage buff if you said miss. Krampus. I think Krampus would be an excellent partner with this monster specifically. I really do. Things that cause two negative effects that also pairs up really nicely. So things like RFL, Mr. Scratch, White Pandolph, Scar, any of those monsters work really great. Scar's not really a denier, so I guess that can be another choice in place of Fenrir or Railbog. You wouldn't be able to use Scar all that much because he's a magic monster, and you know White Pandolph is too, and so is Mr. Scratch. I just literally listed 3 magic monsters for teamwork comps. But you could do that for PvP. You could totally do that for PvP. But, you know, for teamwork and stuff like that. Now, in the PvP arena competitive scene format, this is late game, this is big boy leagues, this is the, the sense of speed and strength only matter. I don't know how good this monster really is to you. I really can't say, unless this probably would work a lot better if he was 115. If you just got this at 100, probably doesn't do you all that great at the moment, compared to the other magic monsters you possibly have ranked up. Because the main point in that scene, the main point in like the top tier, why the top tier players follow this beat 'em up method, is to you do big amounts of burst damage and spontaneous big bursts, and all that jazz. Your main focus is that they love things like Voltic, they like things like Barbatos, they like things like these. They use the monsters with the best moves for the just the best outcomes, like AoE 100% stamina leak. Frostbite's a fan favorite too of that category. I don't know how good this monster is to you, because it doesn't follow your natural beat 'em up style. I mean, like, it's not a big amount of burst damage. You do follow that style. No, I imagine you putting off like just straight up full speed runes, and that's natural, because in that case, it's a really shitty area in terms of like the competitive food chain. That's a really shitty area to be in. I mean, like, it's the main area, but you get my point. You have to deal with a lot of crap. I mean, I have to deal with like 130 Thetes, or just maxed out speed. PvP arena is not fun. I mean, like in terms of seeing those, those kind of players that take a full advantage of the speed system. So I recommend if you have like X runes, assuming you have X runes, probably either full speed, a damage, and 2 speed. That's about it. For that situation, because those are the only runes that really exist to you. Now, that's not for every single player. Obviously, that's not every single player in that area of play. Maybe it is. Some people, maybe some people. I'm gonna bring it up in a video. Again, I'm bringing this all up in a video. But yeah, that's the main set. People use very specific things. I don't know if dot damage was ever a huge thing, unless it did another conjunction of deny. I have no idea how good this thing is to you. I have absolutely no idea. Because even though it does do spammable moves, but I'd only imagine it ever being like useful to you, or at least relevant in your situation, if it was at least 115. That's the only time, because it does a decent amount of single target damage at that point. Its life is at a decent enough level, and it's a really fast monster at that point. I have literally no idea how useful this is to you. Because the main idea is, burst damage. It usually is. So yeah, I do recommend 3 strengths and a strength and 2 speed for your area. I hope you loved this video. I hope you enjoyed my little, explanation of rune sets. Partners are just about the same. Except for like, obviously, if you're a top tier, if you're on the top tier rankings and stuff like that, you have to deal with a lot of level 10 stuff. You would obviously adjust to the partners you mainly use all the time. For tanking, general Atum, Oros, your specific monsters for your specific that's a specific element. People love using Atum and Oros, Thetes and Frostbite for water. Cabin fit, just that stuff. I don't really need to explain your partners. You already know your partners. If you're already in that area, you already deal with that high rank stuff. You know what to pair it up with. I don't really need to explain, that. If you are interested though, please comment. I'll happy answer any comments and all that jazz. I'm DibtheAwesome. And I hope you enjoyed this monster. I really do. Tell me your experience with it. I really love to know. What are your rune sets? I will say, if you're not in the top tier category, if you're not just following like max speed and just like the strength and stuff like that, if you're actually in the area of community competitive where you can be creative with the rune sets, so you can try different things, let me know your experience. Let me know what works, what partners you have. I would personally love to know. So yeah, I'm DibtheAwesome. I'll catch you guys later.